Welcome to this Eyeworld Mind Express training recap video. I'd like to cover several features in this video, and the first I'd like us to look at is the access method. You'll notice in the upper left-hand corner of the screen, I have my eye tracking turned on. I can also directly select on the screen, and I have a mouse plugged into my eye gaze edge for the purpose of this video. When I hover over any key, you'll notice right now my mouse cursor is turned off, but I have a yellow highlight on each button I'm hovering over. If you hover over to the menu in the upper left-hand corner, you can access the access method. If I wanted to just turn off eye tracking and use mouse or touch for the duration of this video, which I will do, let me go back to eye gaze, and you'll notice right now that I have a visual indicator of a border around each key, as well as a hollow clock in the middle of each key. That can be changed under Settings and Access. If I go to Eye Tracking, if you explore these eye tracking settings, you can see what visual indicators in the key you can have. You can have nothing. Remember that we firmly believe that the fewer visual distractions on the screen and within a key, the better, unless that person needs a large visual in the middle of that key to understand what's happening. You have a fill, you have a large clock, a dot. I've been playing around with this small hollow clock because it gives me a small dot in the center of each key and also helps me understand my gaze duration. You can have a border around the key or none. You can turn on an auditory sound when you're selecting the key. So here we've got our home screen, and play around with those settings. I'm going to go ahead and change my access method for the duration of this video to mouse. If we look in the chat feature, this looks the same as it has in previous versions of Eyeworld. Here at the top we have our word and phrase sentence prediction. We've got our QWERTY keyboard with the commands. We've got our phrase button. Down here we've got a toggle speech off and on button, and we've got an add phrase button. So if you have a new customer, they can start automatically typing out phrases, clicking on add phrase, and it will add it to their customized phrase page. Let's take a look at the phrases. Remember that the buttons in blue are our phrase categories, and when you select a category, the buttons in green are the phrases within that category. You can edit the categories, or you can edit the items within any given category. We've got a stop speech button, undo, clear, repeat last. Down here, these purple buttons are our conversational control buttons. If they are selected, it will automatically interrupt the conversation and help the communicator take control and interrupt what's happening so they're not spoken over. Let's move on to the internet browser. There's an additional feature in the Mind Express software, and it's the ability to choose which browser you surf the web with. Our default is to have the Windows Control Browser turned on. Up here you can change the browser type. Let's take a look at the Windows Control Browser. This is very familiar to all of us. Like our previous versions of Eyeworld, you have the real estate of your website at the bottom, and up top you have all of the same commands that we had in previous versions. From my point of view, this is our recommended way to surf most websites, and my personal preference in surfing websites. However, we know that some people don't like that or can't have high levels of success with that, so they may have a better chance if they change the browser type here. If you select Change Browser Type, here you can see our Windows Control Browser is currently selected. If we select the Mind Express integrated browser and go back, you'll see quite a difference. So now our website is in the center portion of the screen, and we have commands on both a right and left column as well as the bottom row. These command buttons are more specific. It's a little bit more information, and it may be a little bit more of hand-holding for this person when they want to surf any given website. So you'll notice we have our scroll buttons here. We've got our link buttons here. So if you select here, you'll notice at the very top it started selecting hyperlinks. So I'm going to click next, next, and then they would need to hit the select link button. So this may be a little bit more complicated, but again, for some people this may give them the access they need. So I would encourage all of us to play around with both web browsers and become familiar with it. You'll notice here we've got a type URL button, search the web. These three dots here give us more commands on the bottom, zoom in, zoom out. So all of these functions here are in our Windows control browser, but they're just laid out differently. The one thing that's missing here are the mouse clicks, left click, right click, drag and click, etc. So that is on the other browser, and that's one reason why I think that's the preferred browser for most people. You'll also notice on the home page we have our answer and hang up phone buttons right up here. So when a call is received, they can look here at answer or look here to decline the call. Our medical communication page and entertainment pages are the same. Let's move on to Notes. Notes is a feature that's pretty popular. It looks a little bit different now in Eyeworld. So here we have possible categories of notes in blue. Books to read, medical history, medication. You see that we have room for more categories. When you select a category, let's say you want to make a shopping list. So the person would select shopping list, and if they want to add a note, they would select write, and they would add a note and put it right here. This works for long notes. It works for short notes. If you have a really, really long note here, you're going to put it into full screen mode, and you can expand your long note to fill this whole screen and add to it. So play around with the notes and become familiar with how this works. Social media, again, these are web-based, so you can go in and this will give you access to these popular social media platforms. What's the difference between this, say, going on Facebook through this button and going on Facebook through the web browser? Let me show you. All right, so it's pulled up Facebook. We would need to log in. You'll notice this looks a lot like the integrated web browser that I just showed you. However, these buttons are customized to show Facebook functions. So let's pretend that we had signed in and we want to start exploring Facebook. You can click on your Facebook home. If you show Facebook functions, here you can toggle from the previous post to the next post. You can like or react. You can comment. So these are specific features within Facebook that people might find very helpful. You can also go and show the web functions. Now this looks like the integrated web browser we just saw. Here's our keyboard for typing, zoom, etc. So if somebody wants a button for these Facebook functions, this is a pretty good option. Or they can surf Facebook directly from the web browser. Let's talk a little bit about text messaging. Once you sync a phone to the software, which we've provided a video on, you can go in and their text message feed will appear here. Now we're used to having a notification be right on the screen when the person receives a text message. This is a little bit different in MindExpress Eyeworld in that they have to look at this Check New Messages button to refresh their new messages, and it will appear here. So this notification does not appear right on the screen anymore. Email inbox is very similar. You sync the email address and you have the functions, simple functions of the email inbox. Remember that we can move any of these buttons from the second page back to the first page. Say if they want their call bell right on the first page, it's easy to move. Here's a new addition to Eyeworld. It's the calendar app. When you select the calendar app, it's a lot of visual information. So I'm going to click in here and show you how to introduce the calendar app. The calendar app is a way for people to take control of their scheduling, have their appointments and information accessible anytime they want. All right. On the left, we see that we are highlighting right now a day view. We can look at a week view, So if I've selected week view, we have morning, early afternoon, late afternoon, and evening, the whole days of the week. We have a whole month view, and you can say go to September 30th. And now we're back on the day view of September 30th. So here we have our time slots. We can add appointments to a calendar. We can add alarm. We can navigate to the previous day or the next day, or on the calendar we can go to today. So if they wanted to add, let's say, a physical therapy appointment to their calendar, they would click on Add Calendar. They would click on Type and type in PT visit from the therapist, and here they can select the time. It says right now the start time is 2 p.m. You can add an hour and it becomes 3 p.m., 4 p.m., 5 p.m. So this appointment is from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. I'm using my keyboard right now. So a PT visit at 5 p.m. on Thursday, September 30th, and I'm going to add the event to the calendar. And here it is. Now I can remove this event from the calendar by looking at Remove from Calendar and then looking at the appointment, and it disappears. So play around with the functionality of this calendar. I think it's great. Let's talk a little bit about syncing a phone. We've made a video on how to sync a phone. There's a few slight differences with placing and receiving calls. In Grid 3, we had access to a button right here on the screen that turned on the speakerphone of the phone. We don't have that functionality now in Eyeworld, but it's pretty easy to go around. So if this person wants to be able to place and receive phone calls, some people want to do that. For iPhone, and remember that MindExpress is compatible with iPhones and Android phones. For iPhones, you need to navigate to the phone's accessibility and turn on the answer to speakerphone mode. So there's something in accessibility where you have it anytime the phone is answered, it automatically answers in speakerphone. So for iPhone users that want to use this with their iGaze Edge, they will need to turn that on in their iPhone accessibility features. For Android phones, there is a free app called Auto Speaker app you can download, and whenever that Android phone is answered, it answers in speakerphone. So that's the phone functionality. Here on the second page, you'll see we have some very similar things: remote control, sleep mode, call bell. These are all the same. Okay, let's look at settings. There are some added benefits here. For the dwell times, we now have given them a numeric value to select their gaze duration. We have volume buttons. Here on the bottom we have set brightness. If they need remote support, they can access this remote support, and when they're asked to double click on remote support or hit accept, they can do that. Oh, there we launched remote support. In settings, they can select the speaking voice that they would like. They can also select which home assistant they have: Alexa, Google Home, or Siri. And they can also show and hide the menu bar. This will be important for us to know as we're demonstrating the device. You'll notice I've hidden the menu bar and we have a nice clean look. So say I'm in a demo and I started out this way. I can navigate to my settings and show this menu bar if I need to go up and change settings. I can also hit escape on my keyboard. Here we have our voice controlled assistant page, contacts page, our tech support page, our Windows control. Windows control is very similar, but there are a few added features. So you'll notice here that at the bottom I have 3 dots and a menu. If I click on this, I can now change the position of my controls. Right now my controls are on the left. Let's say I want to move them to the right, or I want to move them to the top. And then I can dock whatever I'm looking at on the screen to fit with the controls and how I've moved them. I prefer mine on the right. Let me go back. I found personally that this Windows control is slightly more accurate in MindExpress than it was in Grid 3. That just may be me though. Okay, let's cover a few more things. We have Continually, we're discovering new things, slight things that need to be fixed and modified. So any bugs that you run across, please report them to Lori and to Keen here at the office. And we are adding the latest version of Eyeworld to our iGaze Sales Hub as often as it's available to us. What we do is we make changes, we test it, and then we will upload it to the Sales Hub. So check that out to download the latest version as we make changes. What I'd like to do now is go to the portal, and I would like to show you an introduction to the symbol page sets. So these have also just been added to the iGaze Sales Hub. All right, when we select symbol page sets, we have a row of numbers right here. 5 by 3 indicates 5 by 3 buttons. So how many buttons are on a screen? 4 by 3, 2 by 1, and 2 by 2, and we have cause and effect pages. All right, so what we all need to do is go in and start exploring these. These cause and effect pages, when you go here, there are 4 levels of cause and effect activities. We have discovery pages, where the person simply looks. We have pages that focus on one target, pages that focus on multiple targets, and then here we have moving targets. So these, like I said, are simple looking activities. They are errorless learning interactive pages. These stars here are perceived difficulty that have been assigned to these pages. These are fairly simple. These pages on the bottom right, these 3, 1, and 2 stars, these are all heat map pages. I'd like to show this to you. Remember, in MindExpress, you can turn on data logging features and heat mapping features for any page. These have them automatically turned on. Heat mapping, the other nice thing is it gives you an instruction before you go into any of these activities. It says, look carefully at the 4 toys that will be displayed. Which one do you like the most? All right. And again, I'm using my mouse. Let me try that again with just my eyes. Let's go in and change the access method. I'm going to do eye tracking. I'm going to hit this repeat button. Okay, as I'm looking at the screen, what it's going to do is after the activity is done, it has shown me a heat map of where that person is focusing. So you'll notice I was just really focusing around this first toy and I didn't look at these other ones. This allows us to understand and see where the person's attention, where their eyes are pointed for this activity, which can be very helpful for some patient populations. All right, so let me go back. So these 3 pages on the bottom right are our heat mapping activities. I'm going to go back to just mouse and touch. All right, let me go back. I'll show you a few more examples. Let's try multiple targets. And I'll just select this music activity. Let's play some music, be a musician or a DJ. And you can have them select an instrument. And then here, I don't have my sound turned on right now, but they can look and you can see where they're looking. They can interact with this visual on the screen. Let me exit out of this. So I would recommend that you go into the Sales Hub, download these new symbol page sets, and start exploring. Okay, let me go back one step. So these are our Maximize pages. Let's go to the main menu. Now we have some symbol-based communication pages here. I'm going to start very simple, our 2x1 and 2x2 grids. If you go to early steps, you'll notice we have 2 words on a page and we have 4 words on a page. We also have a simple yes/no page. Let's open up this one. So we have yes on the left, we have no on the right, we've got a pause button, a back button, and up here would be their eye image. This simple page can help us in evaluations to determine are they answering yes and no correctly. Also, let's go into 2 words on a page. They've given us a template to start with, so let's say greetings. So we have a button that says hi and a button that says bye. You can also create your own. So under my own words, you can edit these cells to be any two words that you might find helpful in an evaluation. Same thing with 4 words on a page. We have feelings, wants, greetings, or my own words. Where you might use this, and I've done this before in previous versions of our software, you're called into a demo for a patient with a traumatic brain injury. The speech therapist is not really sure what might be appropriate for them or what they can even access. So you find out the patient's name, their hobbies, what type of pet they have, and you go in and customize 4 highly relevant buttons, and you do a simple activity to see are they answering correctly. So this library of pages allow us to have this template to do that. It's very nice. For these next activities, these are our basic core and fringe vocabulary page sets. They're called Next Steps to Language and Steps to Language Level 1, 2, and 3. And in the Joomla software, you can go to the portal and you can start exploring. If you want to import new page sets, Joomla has pages on their website. They have ready-made page sets according to category. We have symbol pages, text communication pages, games, education, and apps. So you can go in here, read about these available page sets, and you can import these page sets and start customizing them. Let's go back to where we were. When you select on any of these symbol-based pages, there is a tips button for you and also for the therapist. So under the tips button, we're going to find information about this specific language page. So how to model core words, the aims of next steps to language. So if you click on this, these were written by a speech and language pathologist to talk about the aims of this communication page. Using the keyboard, watching a video tutorial online, and progressing to the next level. How do you know when they're ready to go to the next page set? These tips are very helpful for us and for therapists as they're getting to understand the MindExpress platform. Let's go back to the main menu. I'm going to jump up a few steps. You'll see it's gotten more complex. We have core and fringe vocabulary, and again, under tips, we can read about this specific page set, phrasing out prompts, the aims of this page. We also have keyboard access here. We're not going to go into that much right now. And let's go tips and back to the main menu. So again, check out our iGaze Sales Hub for this page set as well as new ones, and our updated Eyeworld page sets as they're updated, probably weekly at this point. And thank you for joining us for this training.